Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call to order the Richmond City Council meeting for Monday, April 11th, 2022. First of all, may I have a motion on the minutes? Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a couple of questions regarding the Metro Vancouver Board in brief. It was good to read about the Iona Island Wastewater Treatment Plant upgrade project. I see that the project definition and conceptual design was approved. About halfway down our page, Council 25, the report says the board have directed staff to work collaboratively with member jurisdictions to confirm project cost allocations and rate impacts. So my question through you, Your Worship, have we as staff done any work on what the financial impact could be for Richmond?
I'll ask staff to reply to that. We know the basic breakdown, and I can say that to the extent that it's locally borne, Richmond is a relatively small part of the use of Iona, so our part is relatively small. But have we done any specifics, John Irving?
Your Worship, through you to Councillor McPhail, we haven't done any calculations specifically on Iona. We certainly look more broadly at all of Metro Vancouver's costs as they pass them on to us through the sanitary and water utilities. This will be passed on through the sanitary utility. As the Mayor has indicated, certainly the vast majority of these costs will be borne by the sewerage area. That would be Vancouver and Burnaby. But given just the sheer scale, the magnitude of the cost of the project, significant dollars will flow our way. And so, yes, we are watching that space very carefully, and we'll be working with them going forward to determine exactly how they're going to allocate those funds to the various sewage areas.
Thanks for that. And I just have one other question. It's on our Council 27 under 5.4 development of a wet weather pricing approach. And it talked about, again, additional new approaches for wet weather cost allocation are being developed and will be reviewed in consultation with municipal staff prior to providing staff recommendations to the Liquid Waste Committee. And I believe, Councillor Liu, you're on the Liquid Waste Committee. So I guess what I'm looking at is when I read this, I see the opportunity for there to be new tax increases for 2023. And I guess that's what I'm asking. With the wet weather pricing, was there a timeline that we would then get what our allocation would be?
Councillor Liu, do you want to reply to that?
Because we have separated sewers and storm, the issue isn't with Richmond. The issue is with older communities that have combined sewer and stormwater going into the same places like New West, Vancouver, and some other places. So they're the ones that on those wet weather days, that's when the overflows are happening in the sewage treatment plants because they just can't handle that amount of fluids. Whereas here at Lulu Island, because we're a younger community, we started later, and we love to joke about ditches in Richmond, but because we have the ditches for the storm sewers and those are separated, we're actually in a really good position for it. And then the other thing is the infiltration. So what happens is you'll have an existing pipe, and when it starts breaking down with tree roots, extra water goes into it when it does rain. We're still not experiencing that much of that here in Richmond because we're still relatively new and our pipes are good.
Well, thanks for that explanation, and that's it for me. Thank you, Your Worship.
All right, Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I too had a question on Iona, and Councillor McPhail started it. And you mentioned we have a small part. Your Worship, I think we should have the metrics on the use of the Iona treatment plant so that we actually know. Because when there's problems with the outfall and all the other problems, Richmond gets them. And I'd like to know just what that percentage is. We don't need it tonight, but maybe staff can come up with it. And, you know, how many residents have the sewer flow that way as opposed to Gilbert Road. So I think it's a...
To staff, if you could take that under advisement and give us an answer. I can tell you basically it's a little bit of Sea Island. That's really all of Richmond that uses Iona. We, as you say, we pretty much use the Lulu Island liquid waste treatment plant.
The other item that I was interested in is on our last page. You know, we get a lot of comments with regard to modular versus wood frame construction. And given the notes from Metro Vancouver saying it's significantly more expensive for wood frame construction, and because people are saying, well, why doesn't the city, in terms of a housing issue, maybe we could have a bit of a report on how effective modular housing may be. I know it's quick, and if you look up in Smith Avenue, I was up there the other day again, and the big trailers were coming in, dropping off the modules. Actually, it's more complete than one would think, and I would encourage council and the public to go up and see the 50 units going in there. But when I see that comment, again, it's metrics. How much is it? How significant is that? So if we can get that, again, staff under advisement, a memo to us. I'm not asking necessarily for the answers tonight, but they do bring up issues that we need to be dealing with on it, especially when it's been discussed at the Metro Vancouver level, which obviously we're a part of. So thank you.
Yeah, the caveat, of course, would be let them do as much of the work as possible, and then they'll share all the results with us. And of course, you're on the housing committee, so
Right.
you're going to be right in the front row of that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Au.
Yes, Your Worship. I also have questions on the Metro Vancouver Board in brief. I refer to page CNCL 26, the last item on this page, development cost charge review process and rate amending bylaw. And turning on to the next page, it said that the boss gave first, second, and third readings to the relevant bylaws and directed staff to forward said bylaws to the inspector of municipalities for approval. And then it goes on to say that once this is being approved by the inspector of municipalities, it will go back to the board. So I want to know what will be the impact of this change of DCC to the city, and what kind of involvement do we have in terms of influencing the outcome of the review?
Well, I'll get you a copy of the report, which will outline what the DC rates are now and what they're going to be. But it's not so much a cost to the city as a cost to the development. So it'll be per unit, the development per unit, how much is it going to cost? The other aspect of DCCs is at the Water Committee, we're looking for DCCs as well. Growth should pay for growth, and so there's extra water infrastructure you need every time you grow, so therefore there should be some payment for that in the form of a DCC. So that is not determined, that is yet to come. But we'll get you a copy of this report, and
Very good.
and that should answer, I think, your questions.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? Okay, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Any agenda additions or deletions?
None, Your Worship.
All right, may I have a motion to resolve into committee of the whole to hear delegations on items on the agenda? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Now, are there any parties here wishing to speak to items that are on the agenda? Now, I stress, I know that there's some items which are at the end of the agenda, which they're not on the agenda except that they're noted there. I'm not talking about those. Is there anything of a substantive nature that anybody here wants to speak to? Yes, ma'am? Which one did you want to speak to?
Item 105, I just had a quick question.
Sorry, what's item 105?
Yes, item 9.
Okay, please come forward then. Please come forward then on the remote public participation. Okay, please have a seat, ma'am. Welcome. And this is our procedure for everybody, okay? So we'll start it off on the right foot. So, Madam Clerk is going to read out a statement, and then we'll ask you to identify yourself, tell us the item on the agenda that you wish to speak to, and you'll be given 5 minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council will now hear delegations relating to items on the agenda. First, the Chair will call upon the pre-registered speakers in the order of pre-registration. The Chair will then ask any members of the audience to raise their hand if they wish to delegate on an agenda item. City Council is committed to ensuring a safe and respectful environment and supports the right of the community to bring comments forward. Please remember that in accordance with the Community Charter and Council Procedure Bylaw, the following process will guide presentations to Council. Number 1, delegations have 5 minutes to speak so long as comments are relevant to reports on today's agenda. Number 2, delegations will be called upon by the Chair and start by introducing themselves and noting any Council agenda item about which they wish to speak. And number 3, delegations must present in a respectful manner without interference or comment from the audience. Thank you for your cooperation.
All right, ma'am, so please introduce yourself.
My name's Teresa Delabor-Sodier. I'm a resident of Richmond.
Oh, ma'am, you are listed as a non-agenda item. So that is at the end of the agenda. So if we could ask you to take your seat, we'll be coming back to you. There's 3 delegations on items that are not on the agenda, and we'll get to them in sequential order. I think you're the second one. So please have a seat. Thank you. Well, just a minute. Did you want to speak to number 12 on the procedure, or did you have other things on your mind?
Item 9 on the agenda.
I know that item 9 talks about the council remote public participation. Is that the item you want to speak to?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry I misunderstood. Please go ahead. You've got 5 minutes.
I was simply wanting to ask the council for more information what the amendments were.
Oh, all right. I'll turn it to staff. If you could get her a copy of the report, and that should be self-explanatory, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wanting to speak to us on an item on the agenda? Moved and seconded. All those in favor, opposed, carried. All right, so that brings us to the consent agenda. And before we are going to the consent agenda, we do have a video from staff on the Arts Services Year in Review. So we'll turn it over to Madam Clerk and staff for that.
Richmond Art Services is guided by Artworks, Richmond Art Strategy, which envisions an art scene that animates our city every day, offers rich arts education and experiences, festivals and events, fosters social connections and wellness, builds arts and culture leadership, and provides creative spaces. By connecting highlights from 2021 with the 5 strategic directions of the art strategy, this video will illustrate how art works in Richmond as we continue to offer meaningful engagement with the arts through ever-changing pandemic conditions.
With hundreds of courses, 11 resident art groups, the Children's Arts Festival, exhibitions, and more, the Richmond Arts Center is a leader in the field of affordable and accessible professional arts education and community arts development. In 2021, virtual outdoor and in-person programs ran throughout the year.
In the Media Lab, members of the Richmond Youth Media Program logged over 1,300 hours learning media skills for free and putting them to creative use with a new music video contest and a winning entry in the annual WorkSafe BC Student Safety Video Contest.
Richmond Art Gallery is a nationally recognized municipal gallery known for its diverse array of exhibitions and public programs that engage with issues and ideas of importance to our community.
In 2021, the gallery continued to offer tours in person and online, including in Mandarin. Over the summer, Imperfect Offerings presented hundreds of broken ceramic and natural objects reassembled through the Japanese art of kintsugi.
This popular exhibition resonated with our collective journey through the COVID-19 pandemic, mirroring our own fragility, recovery, and careful return to society.
Meanwhile, as part of Capture Festival on the Canada Line, the gallery presented The Misfits by Catherine Dong,
a play on Chinese textile art that explores issues of gender and culture.
and The Left Space by artist Brendan Fernandez, a dazzling mix of patterns evoking a sense of both urgency and solidarity.
In order to strengthen the infrastructure of Richmond's arts and culture organizations and support a wide range of creative activity, the 2021 Arts and Culture Grants Program invested $116,815 through operating and project assistant grants to 20 nonprofit arts organizations.
The Arts and Culture e-Blast provided more than 500 subscribers with practical news and opportunities in the arts and culture sector, such as training, artist calls, and funding resources.
As well, free professional development and networking opportunities through the Art at Work program and the Gallery's Artist Salon series addressed career development, financial management, and more.
Richmond's signature festivals encouraged creativity and showcased local artists, both online and on-site as conditions allowed.
In 2021, artists connected with students, library visitors, newcomers, and LGBTQ youth through the Engaging Artists in Community program.
Richmond Arts Awards recipients were again profiled via Instagram. National Indigenous Peoples Day was celebrated online with the creation of 2 new videos.
And Richmond continued to be a national leader for the 13th Annual Culture Days, with 32 artists and organizations presenting 63 free public activities, including a hands-on stop-motion animation activity creating dancing Lego characters.
And throughout the year, Branscombe House artist-in-residence Rachel Rosansky sparked conversations about the arts and environment with workshops on printmaking, weaving, zine-making, and more.
In 2021, new civic public artworks included From Earth to Water, an integrated artwork along the Alexander Greenway inspired by Chinese ornamental patterns and local plants and animals. And through the Private Development Public Arts Program, we added 5 new works including Water Off a Duck's Back by Douglas Copeland.
Community art public programs like utility box wraps and Number 3 Road art columns added vibrancy to Richmond's outdoor spaces while showcasing the work of Richmond artists.
And the city's mural program really took off this year with no fewer than 6 community-informed works completed, including Stages of Bloom at the Gateway Theatre.
The Richmond Arts Strategy guides decision-making to empower ideas, people, and resources around a shared vision, led by the guiding principles of excellence, sustainability, creativity, accessibility, inclusivity, community building, and celebration.
The arts help us to achieve community goals in economic development, health and well-being, as we boast a richly diverse and multifaceted community. And they are essential to Richmond's aspiration to be the most appealing, livable, and well-managed community in Canada.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That brings us to the consent agenda, and I'll give you the highlights of that agenda. We have the receipt of the committee minutes, the 2022 Environmental Enhancement Grant Program, the program plan for Japanese duplex, the amendments to the council procedure bylaw, the remote public participation, appointment of an external auditor, revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw, land use applications for first reading, which will go to public hearing May 16th, 7420 and 40 Langton Road, rezoning from 2-unit dwellings, RD1 zone, to the single detached RS2B, 4880 Gary Street, rezoning the single detached RS1E zone to the single detached RS2A zone. And finally, the report, which we just saw the video on, the Arts Services Year in Review 2021. May I have a motion to adopt those by general consent? Moved and seconded. Go to Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Worship. I'll be supporting everything on the agenda. It's actually quite a good agenda. I was very pleased, and I'm very pleased to support the grants on the environmental enhancement. And at the committee level, we went through and discussed it, and there's only one group that didn't get any money, But if they were able to do education with regard, even though it was private property, with the community gardens in there, would they get, for example, the Jewish Day School was the one that didn't get any money. Would they qualify in that light where they might have a community garden, not necessarily for just themselves, but the public?
Mr. Sinclair?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, as it stands, the environmental enhancement grant aligns with other city grants which do not allow grant funding to be used on private property. If directed, staff can look into options for supplying funding for projects based on private property.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. I thought the report was good. I would hope that we did, I think we spent 28,000 out of 35, and one group didn't get any funds. I'm hoping next year that we have to put $50,000 or $75,000 in the kitty to have this program go, and that it will improve in stature, but also in terms of participation. I think for the public, because this is the initial start of it, I think people are going to catch on, and it's something that I think people can really take advantage of, especially in the growing of food. I will be supporting the Japanese duplex program. I think it's a great program. It's long overdue of dealing with the Japanese duplex. But the one thing that comes out, and thank you for staff, is the word welcome. Councillor Steve, the boat owners down there with laundry and shower, and staff change rooms and workstations, and that. And again, the prominent welcome signage there. I think it's extremely important that we have it, and an opportunity to have bike parking down there. We already have a lot of people getting down there by bike. And the other, Your Worship, we just saw what I would call a masterpiece again in Richmond, the heart and soul of the community with the arts program, and very pleased and want to thank all those involved in that particular program and giving us the arts and review. I think, and as today, Your Worship, you were a part of an official delegation that we got to $2.3 million to convert Mineral Place into an arts facility for not only arts, but studios and dance and all those kinds of things that are going in there, and help from the provincial government, help from the Indigenous and Musqueam government. There were 4 levels of government, help from the province. I think it came out to, I added up, Your Worship, 3.06 and change million. So super effort all around. We saw what the arts have. Again, we put it in this booklet, Your Worship. Is this available to the public? I know that it's going to go on to online, but sometimes it's just great to be able to leaf through the booklet with the arts and review, and I have some of these at the front desk for those that might want to pick them up, or the fact that we can use them to spread the arts. Extremely important that we do. How are we going to get this out to the public further? It's a queue in the Richmond's Hap. We're blessed with some of the greatest artists in the world, and
a really solid recommendation. The second item I'll comment on is the Arts in Review for 2021. Despite probably over 2 years of COVID, I found it fascinating that the arts seem to thrive and actually bring our community even closer together and to make us feel better about what we were going through. A lot of the experiences were able to be enjoyed online, but there were also some that were able to be enjoyed in person depending on when they happened. The mural program, a lot of people have commented on it. I find it spectacular. Just walking around at different sites, I find myself standing there for 5 minutes or more just looking at them. The one at McMath in particular is one that I really like. The Maritime Festival went on this summer, and you could attend that in person. It was a downscaled version of some of its previous iterations, but I thought it was actually one of the best ones I've been to, even though it was downscaled. A lot of local artists, a lot of wooden boats, a lot of talent was there, and I think everybody that attended enjoyed it in a very safe, socially distanced way. So with the art program in general, I just say what I've recognized so far is that it's a very vibrant program. And it's something that brings a lot to the community, as you've already heard mentioned. And I think that we've got excellent participation, a lot of local participation, and it really does just breathe life into our community. And I think it's something that we're all very happy to support. So thank you very much.
All right, so with that, we will call the question on the consent agenda. All those in favor? Any opposition? That is carried. It brings us to the one item that is off the consent agenda, which is the proposed ongoing City of Richmond patio program. Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to declare a conflict of interest. My husband has an interest in a business that participated in the temporary patio program this year, not in the first year, but this year.
All right, so we'll excuse you, thank you. I'm not going, the resolution is very lengthy. I will make propose the resolution as it's written on the yellow sheets, but I'll just touch on a couple of the highlights and then have a bit of an explanation. The committee recommends that the City of Richmond patio program as described in the staff report for the General Manager of Community Safety be approved for implementation. Secondly, the council introduced a new process for issuing patio permits as described in the staff report titled Proposed Ongoing City of Richmond Patio Program by giving first, second, and third readings to, and then there's the various bylaws that are involved. And then there's a number of other provisions. The sixth part of the resolution that the expiry date for valid expedited temporary outdoor patio permits be extended to June 1st, 2023, and that a letter be sent to the BC Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch requesting an extension to existing temporary expanded service area authorization in Richmond until June 1st of 2023, and the rest of it as set out on the yellow sheets, and I would so move. So that's moved and seconded. Let me just provide a bit of the background. This has been a very popular program we've had for the past, 2 years, the temporary temporary outdoor patio program. And that was brought in with COVID. To this point, we've had 67 permits that have been issued, and the idea of them is to allow the expansion of basically restaurants, but it could pertain to other businesses, to go out onto the sidewalks to form patios without increasing their capacity. So at the height of the COVID, you could only have 50% occupancy in a restaurant. That would not change, but you could help to address that by having some of it outside. Now, the suggestion is that the temporary outdoor patio program would be extended to June of 2023, and there's a new patio program to consider additional types of patios. Note that if a restaurant owner or other business wants to increase their capacity on a permanent basis, then there's another way, another procedure for that. And also, as noted, this does not affect the liquor license, and we're asking that those temporary outdoor patio program permits be extended to June 1st of 2023. So that's just the kind of the factual background of the situation. Councillor Liu.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a couple comments about this program. And I guess first of all is temporary outdoor patio begs the question, do we have indoor patios in Richmond? But I would like to thank the Chamber and the businesses who reached out. We've definitely heard from a number of businesses who have patios, and I acknowledge, and I think we all acknowledge, that the uncertainty that the businesses faced about this upcoming summer, because the city was waiting on the province to figure out what was going to happen for the temporary outdoor patio program. And so this is the city moving ahead because the province's program doesn't start until June 1st, 2023. And so that's why our program goes till June 2023. But certainly a lot of the businesses were really worried, trying to figure out what they were going to do, trying to figure out their staffing, whether or not they were going to get to keep their patios, what their plan was for the upcoming summer. So I'm glad that we're pushing through with this, and I'm glad that the businesses really have an opportunity to take advantage of the outdoor spaces, and hopefully we have a good sunny summer for it.
All right, thank you. Let's see now, Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. The patio program is an amazing program, and it was actually Councillor Kelly Green who made the motion and initiated this when she was still a councillor. And I'm really excited that the province has decided to support the restaurants and make it easier for them to continue operating. I had a question of staff. I mean, I've noticed on page 244 that we talk about design and appearance, and that it says that the patio should complement your business without impacting the street's existing character. Patios in Steveston have a more detailed design requirement requiring a historic character. Have we had any problem with the patios being too intrusive? Like, because I drove in Tawasin on the weekend, and they have these big, large tents, one after the other, and it looks like the circus has come to town. It doesn't look at all like our program here in Richmond.
Through your worship to Councillor Day, the temporary program was put in place very quickly, and we heard from businesses that they did what they could to simply expand their space so that they could retain their occupancy in light of the public health order. So moving forward, the proposed ongoing patio program certainly has additional guidelines helping businesses understand how they can create patios that are compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and create a welcoming environment that can be in place for some time to come.
Well done to staff. Like I said, when I drove out in Tawasin, I thought, ooh, that's not what we were looking for. So you've done a great job of helping the businesses to open up this additional seating, when it was shut down to almost nothing, and also to make it attractive for those of us who are just walking by. So thank you for that.
Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through the chair, I'll be supporting the recommendation here. And for a couple of reasons. One, it's important that we support local businesses as we can, and the patio program has been successful in doing that. This report is quite comprehensive. It has 3 goals and 5 guiding principles, which lay out the process very well, including the character and safety of the neighborhood. So I think that's very important, taking into account things like noise and other factors like that. So I'd just like to thank staff for the thoroughness of the report and addressing the concerns of local business owners. I've had a couple conversations with some local restaurant and business owners, and they're fully supportive of the recommendation in this report, and I think that's important. And we have received letters from other parties, including the Chamber, so there seems to be widespread support for this, and I just think it's really important that we do everything we can to help businesses survive and thrive and recover from COVID. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Au.
Yes, Worship, I do support the idea of making this into a permanent project. However, I have some questions. Now, I want to ask staff, do we know how many licenses as such or permits as such that we can accommodate? I'm just imagining that right now in Stevenston, we're talking about 8 or actually 14, right? But only 8 in public property. So assuming that this is very popular and some operators who were not interested in the past, and they may become interested because knowing that this is going to be a permanent project. So do we have an estimate of, or an anticipation, how many applications would come forward?
Through your worship to Councillor Au, it is difficult for us to anticipate how many applications we will get for the ongoing program. We did poll the existing temporary patio permit holders to understand how many of them wish to continue operating patios beyond this pandemic-related program, and about 64% of them said that they would. So certainly not all of the existing temporary patio permit holders indicated they wish to transition to an ongoing program. We haven't at this point set a cap on the number of permits, or we haven't recommended that council establish a cap. What we can do is monitor the implementation of the program, report back to council if we believe there's a need to consider establishing some maximums in certain areas, we will certainly bring that information back.
Yeah, very good. I think monitoring is very important. I asked this question because I'm concerned that, if this program becomes very successful in certain neighborhood, it might affect the traffic pattern. So I think we need to keep an eye on the possible impact on the traffic pattern and the impact on the people living in the neighborhood. And my second question is on CNCL 222, you talk about the notification to the neighborhood. So you said that they will be, the application process will include notification to neighboring property owners and tenants. So I want to know what is the process for those neighbors to provide feedback when an application is received?
Through your worship to Councillor Au, the process varies slightly depending on whether there is a liquor license application involved, so I will defer to Mr. Corrado to respond.
Through your worship to Councillor Au, for your standard process, there would be notification sent out to the neighbors and businesses, and they'd have an opportunity to respond back to staff. If it came to a liquor related application, there would be postings that would be available in 3 consecutive newspaper postings, and there would again be letters sent out to neighboring businesses and neighbors within a 50-meter radius. And then in the case of a liquor report, that report would be taken back to council for a summation of the results and a decision from council.
Very good. Yeah, I just wanted to say that we have to be mindful of the impact that would be imposed on the other tenants or property owners. So it's good that we would have a careful process so that we can receive feedback and try to strike a balance between the needs of the applicants and the needs of the other users of the space. Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? That is carried. We now turn to public announcements and events. I want to start off by announcing a couple of very key retirements that are upcoming in the city. First of all, our Chief Administrative Officer, George Duncan, has announced that he will be retiring at the end of June. And that's after he joined Richmond in 1987 and became the CAO in 1997. During his tenure, Mr. Duncan has made a major impact on our city. Under his leadership, Richmond has become an award-winning leader in civic administration, sustainability, community safety, and operations. One only has to look around to see how our city has grown into a diverse, dynamic, and well-managed community to see his contributions and his legacy. The arrival of rapid transit to Richmond by way of the Canada Line and our important role as a host venue for the 2010 Winter Olympic Games and the ongoing legacy of the Richmond Olympic Oval are just 2 examples. Under Mr. Duncan's leadership, the city has won over 200 awards for various programs and initiatives. So on behalf of City Council, we want to thank Mr. Duncan for his leadership and his commitment, and know that he will certainly be missed. Now that's not effective till the end of June, so we will have other chances to say our thanks and goodbyes to Mr. Duncan. The second very important retirement is that of our fire chief. At the end of this month, Tim Wilkinson, who is the fire chief, will retire from his position. Mr. Wilkinson joined the Richmond Fire Rescue in 1986, moving through the ranks to become chief in 2018. As chief, Tim was responsible for the operations of the city's 7 fire halls, their staff, and their equipment. Under his leadership, he worked hard to bring diversity and integration into the Richmond Fire Rescue Department. Now, almost 20% of the new hires are women, and almost 1/3 are visible minorities. Chief Wilkinson's dedication and commitment to the community and the safety of the residents, the businesses, and its fire rescue crews has ensured that he leaves Richmond in very, very good hands and will be missed. So on behalf of City Council, we wish him all the best in his retirement. Now, today there was a very important announcement. I was joined by Councillors Hobbs, Day, McNulty, and Liu. And from the federal scene, there was Minister Joyce Murray, as well as MPs Wilson Meow and Parm Baines. From the province, there was Minister Cullen, Minister of Municipal Affairs, plus MLAs Kelly Green and Henry Yao. It was announced that the city would be receiving $2.23 million under the Canada Infrastructure Program, and this would be funding for the Old Senior Centre. The idea is that with a bursting Richmond Cultural Centre, so much of that is for the arts. Because we had the opportunity, we were able to make this the Old Senior Centre into an annex, and so very shortly construction work on that is going to be underway. Then we have the Richmond Cherry Blossom Festival, which is an annual event, and it is now underway. The city has free online activities to accompany the blossoming of 255 stunning trees at Steveson's Gary Point Park. We encourage everyone to head to the park to see the trees, take photos, and tour several event kiosks. For more information, go to richmondcherryblossomfest.ca. On Saturday, April 16th, it's World Leisure Day. Richmond is an active participant in this international event. The World Leisure Day will be marked with activities such as self-guided walking tours, a cycling art tour, free public skating, fitness classes, and more. So again, if you want more details, go online to richmond.ca/Leisure Day. Then we have changes to the proof of vaccination rules. In keeping with recent changes to provincial public health orders, the city no longer requires proof of vaccination for entry into its facilities, including City Hall. We do remind everyone that you are still welcome to wear a mask if comfortable and to respect the choice of others who may do so. The city will continue to follow provincial directions and update the community should the situation change. And then the week of April 16th to the 24th is Earth Week. The city is hosting Earth Week celebrations for families to engage in sustainable environmental practices, learn about nature and local ecology, and to beautify the community. Events include public tree planting and a number of community workshops and educational sessions. You can find a list of activities on the city's website. And finally, there's Ramadan and there's Easter. On behalf of the city, we want to extend blessings to those of you who are celebrating Ramadan through to the end of the month. And this coming weekend is also Easter, and a series of family-oriented events will take place at community centers right across the city. So for details on that, go to the Richmond website. So with that, Madam Clerk, we have bylaws for adoption.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are 3 bylaws for final adoption with no noted opposition.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Development Permit Panel, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. There are 2 recommendations. Recommendation 1, that the Chair's reports for the Development Permit Panel meetings held on March 12, 2021 and March 16, 2022 be received for information, and that the recommendations of the panel to authorize the issuance of a development permit for the property located at 10231, 1251, 10351, 10371, and 10391, 10395, and 10397 number 2 road. And B, a development permit for the property located at 10620 Williams Road be endorsed and the permit so issued.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Now may I have a motion to resolve in the committee of the whole to hear delegations on non-agenda items? Moved and seconded. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council will now hear delegations relating to items not on the agenda. The Chair will call upon the pre-registered speakers in the order of pre-registration. Please remember that in accordance with the Community Charter and the Council Procedure Bylaw, the following process will guide presentations to Council. Number 1, delegations have 5 minutes to speak. Number 2, delegations will be called upon by the Chair and start by introducing themselves. Number 3, delegations must present in a respectful manner without interference or comment from the audience. Thank you for your cooperation.
All right, so we have 3 different non-agenda delegations. The first such delegation is a remote delegation. Mike Ingle should be online if you could. Sorry? Okay. Apparently Mr. Ingle is disconnected, so we'll see if he's reconnected by the time we finish talking to the various delegations. So the next one is the lady we've heard from before, Teresa de la Boursadière. Forgive me if I haven't pronounced that correctly. Please come forward, have a seat, and introduce yourself once again and tell us what's on your mind. And you have 5 minutes.
My name is Teresa de la Boursadière. I'm a City of Richmond resident, and I wanted to congratulate the council from the last meeting in deciding to ban pesticides and rodenticides from the properties. I wanted to speak to that matter and requested to speak last week on Friday prior to the meeting, but for some reason wasn't provided access for Zoom, despite requesting it. And that's why I asked for further information on today's agenda item around the procedures. So one of the things that I'm sure the council is already aware of is the load and toxicity load that subsequently occurs when rodenticide is used. So I'd like to put forward to the council to consider banning it from all City of Richmond properties, not just city-owned properties, and instead focusing on educating consumers, introducing incentives for consumers to use non-rodenticide products, looking at using alternative management strategies, and those would be exclusion, dry ice, some very effective non-toxic measures that do not include using vasodilation products that are pharmaceutical products and toxic. And most importantly, removing all rodenticide boxes from outdoor spaces, because currently rodent control companies use this as their primary method of control, and they just stick them outside, landscaping, and frankly, it's not appropriate because it's a pharmaceutical product and is then being consumed by the food chain. There's a lot of other strategies that can be used. I'd be happy to discuss that with council, but I'm confident that your previous research leading up to last week's decision will speak for itself. And I do have a video that's been professionally produced that I've sourced that can be sent by the city clerk to the rest of the council.
All right, just to clarify, as you say, we've banned them on city-owned property. You're saying make that a citywide ban with, all the ancillary items to it.
Exactly, or at least remove it from the store shelves so it cannot be sold in stores in Richmond. That's the first step. But the real step is educating consumers. So that means providing educational programs, partnering with your community organizations to talk about more sustainability, rather than having wildlife impacted by the load that cannot be purged from their system once it's been consumed.
I'm going to take a wild guess here, and it is just a guess. It might be more, whether or not we can ban it from the whole city, banning it from the store shelves might be more difficult. But my suggestion is we would ask for a motion to refer this to staff to analyze the situation and then report back to us. Moved and seconded. Any further comments on that? Any comments? Councillor Day.
Thank you. And would that referral also include meeting with this lady so that she can share some of her intel with our staff?
Well, I'm sure that we have her contact information and that you would want to make sure that you are in touch. Normally, if we had all our staff here, we would have the person speak to you right now. But maybe you could speak to the gentleman at the end of the second row who will make sure you have the contact information.
Sure, and some of the things can be looked at is grants for homeowners or property owners to look at exclusion so that they can address the problem at the source and establishing more community partnership.
All right. I'm going to call the question on the referral motion. All those in favor? Anybody opposed to that? That is carried. All right, so we'll be taking a longer look at that. Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you.
All right, by the way, any sign of Mike Ingle? Is he back? Okay, we'll still try to get him back before we're finished. The other delegation is Kai Sharp, who wants to speak to us to present on the Pacific Gateway Hotel workers' labor dispute.
Council, thank you, Mayor. We have two speakers who will be taking up the allotted 5 minutes.
Yes, that's fine, but could we get another chair? The one reason we like you to sit down, besides being more comfortable, is the fact is that's the microphone right in front of you there. So if you're sitting, you're closer to it. Okay. So, yes, please go ahead. You've got 5 minutes. And introduce yourself first and foremost.
Hi, my name is Trevor Martel. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I speak on behalf of the Pacific Gateway employees. The federal government took over our Pacific Gateway Hotel at the beginning of the pandemic, when the Red Cross was also being used as staff to quarantine people. Almost all hotel employees were laid off. The federal government numerous times extended the contract with the hotel. And while the other hotels began to reopen, our hotel owner terminated 143 of us, which caused the few remaining employees to go on strike to ensure recall rights to return to work would be protected when the federal government contract ended. The owner of the Pacific Gateway was paid almost $1.5 million a month from the federal government to use the hotel with mostly free labor. During the pandemic, the owner of the Pacific Gateway Hotel applied to the city of Richmond for a zoning application to build two hotels on the property. This owner has profited off of the pandemic and made it difficult for 143 people to feed their family. Approving this application would be rewarding his bad behavior. The hotel is now open with no terminated employees recalled back to work. The employees at the Pacific Gateway have for many years volunteered countless hours in this community. We help feed the families at Christmas, toy drives, clothing the homeless, walks for autism, dreams take flight, the list goes on. Now, the Pacific Gateway employees ask for your help from the community. Please do not give this hotel any business or grant the zoning applications. Justin Trudeau said no one should lose their jobs because of the pandemic, yet we are here. Myself and my employees of the hotel have been there for a long time. I have worked there for over 17 years, some of my colleagues over 40. This is where I grew up. It's not just a job to me. We are like a family, and we just want to go home to our jobs at the hotel. If the pandemic wasn't stressful enough, imagine being fired so they can replace you with minimum wage workers after all the years you've given to that hotel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trevor. And thank you, Council. My name is Kai Sharp. I am an organizer with United Local 40, currently speaking on behalf of the Pacific Gateway Hotel workers. I also would like to thank the members of the Richmond Poverty Reduction Coalition for attending today in solidarity. Now, show of hands, who here among our delegation is a resident of Richmond? Therein lies why we've come to speak at Council today. The ongoing strike at the Pacific Gateway Hotel is a City of Richmond issue because it directly affects the livelihoods of your fellow residents. 86 Richmondites were employed at the Pacific Gateway Hotel before the pandemic, the majority of which were women and people of color. People who have built families here and who continue to play an active role in their communities, such as Trevor. As constituents, they want to know that they can count on their civic government to support them when an uncaring employer throws their decades of service to the curb. This is a City of Richmond issue because the owners of the Pacific Gateway Hotel have a zoning application currently in circulation. Application number DP 209191117, filed by JM Architecture, proposes to, quote, construct 2 hotels and partially demolish the north portion of the existing hotel. A curious and costly proposal when an active picket line remains in the front of the property. This is a City of Richmond issue because the city, prior to the outbreak of COVID-19, was a return customer of the hotel with over 100 bookings on file, with functions that boasted hundreds in attendance. We are pleased, however, to hear that there has been no business conducted between the city and the Pacific Gateway Hotel since the Public Health Agency of Canada withdrew on January 31st of this year. But we seek assurance that no business will be done going forward under the present circumstances. We ask that all that we ask from City Council today is to seriously consider the proposed resolution in front of them, committing to not spending any taxpayer money at the hotel while there is an active and ongoing labor dispute taking place. I would also encourage the members of City Council who have not done so already to meet with the Pacific Gateway Hotel workers and hear their stories in consideration of this resolution. I thank you very much for your attention. I hope we can see action on this issue too. So, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks. There's a couple questions from the councillors, but my suggestion is at the end of it all, we should also have a motion to refer this for more investigation and a report back from staff. Councillor Day.
Mayor Brody, doing a little research, I ran across the April 27th, 2021 story in The Sun, and it talked about the motion that states from the City of Burnaby that formally inform Hilton, Vancouver, Metrotown, who are doing the same thing, that the council will not support events or promote any businesses with the hotel until an agreement has been reached. That's a very strong statement from Burnaby City Council. How has that affected the situation of Burnaby?
In the situation of Burnaby, passed a motion very similar to the one that's in front of you now.
Yeah.
It was crucial in getting both sides, both the workers and management, to the table, and negotiations are currently on. And that is our motion as well.
So it's not resolved, but at least it's in the works.
It's in the works.
Thanks. And then the other question I had was I saw this letter here from the mayor, Mike Hurley of Burnaby, who wrote in March 2021 that I urge you to guarantee these women their right to return to work. What percentage of the employees are we talking about are women that have been marginalized by this action?
I believe the number is 75% of the 143 workers who were terminated are women. And also 90% of the housekeeping at the hotel was terminated.
And my last question was, I was reading the BC Federal Labor Movement letter, and they said, and this really concerns me, that the hotel industry is using the pandemic as an excuse to get rid of long-term workers and exploit replacement workers with lower wages. Is that true, that the people that have been hired to work there are actually making less than what you were making?
The owner has addressed us in previous time saying that he did not want to take over a hotel that had a union, and he was not willing, actually when he came up and drove to the line and said, why would I go negotiate with you when the government's paying me like $1.5 million a month? You're wasting your time.
It's a new owner, is that what you were saying?
Yes, so what we're looking out for now is doing side contracting because we see that there's construction in the hotel and renovations in the hotel. So he has made comments to people, previous staff members, that yes, he does not want to negotiate. He wants to replace us with workers starting at the minimum wage. Because of all of us have been there for so many years, We've accumulated a certain right to have vacation time, accumulated a right to have a raise and a good living. And he sees this, I guess, as money out of his pocket. I see it as I've made 17 years of my life with this hotel, and I've always worked so hard, same with everyone else. I think I gain the right to those 3-week vacations and my medical and dental and benefits. He doesn't want, when he started trying to negotiate with us, that was one of the first things he took off the table, was our health benefits after so many years.
Okay, we've got other questions. Councillor McPhail.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Actually, my question was asked and answered, but I just want to thank the delegates for coming tonight and sharing your experiences, and I'm really sorry you've had to go through this. And I had a referral, Your Worship, so I'd be happy when we're finished questions to make a referral. Yeah.
Yep, we'll come back to you. Councillor McNulty.
Your Worship, I want to thank the delegates for coming as well. I think we need to hear all the stories from them. Your Worship, I guess my question is, in our referral, if we're going to, usually Richmond is a fair wage employer. And we would expect most of our people in the community, or all of them, to be fair wage employers and treat our people with dignity and respect, and obviously that hasn't happened. And it's interesting to hear that comment with regard to taking money from Ottawa. Obviously not a good corporate citizen. And I don't we get in it, but Your Worship, in our referral, I appreciate what you've got. You got a letter, and obviously we could probably do same. But I'd like to see something concrete come out from your delegation and what you've come up with, more so than words, to be quite frank with you. I would like us to see what we can do within our realm. We have a number of issues, Your Worship. We saw what Burnaby did by not hosting events, and we have 100 there. But we also have a rezoning on the table. And
we'll have to get staff's comments on the rezoning.
That's what I'm leading to. That in that referral, we asked staff, and I would be prepared to, I think we all would. There's nobody, I don't think there's anybody around the table. We asked staff for comment and direction back of what we can do within our role in that this is precedent setting in Richmond that we've heard about. And thank you for all coming forward. It brings up other things, and we've had the similar things before. We ask our contractors to pay fair wages.
Is there a question here?
Yeah, there is a question, Worship. It's coming back not to the delegation. How strong a commitment do you want from us? Doing the letter saying we're not going to go and have coffee there or whatever, or we're not going to have a banquet there. I wouldn't go there anyhow. If you don't need to be asked to do that. If I know somebody is not treating their places well, I don't care whether it's a fast food or a grocery store or whatever, because I expect the same treatment back from the employee. My question is, what else would you like us to do?
The answer to your question is they're asking us to formally inform hotel management that council will not support events or promote any business with the hotel until an agreement with the union has been reached. Secondly, as far as this rezoning matter goes, that can be the subject of some comment by staff, and we'll see where that goes.
And I'd ask staff to look into that then, Your Worship.
Okay. And sorry to split hairs. I don't believe Richmond is a fair wage employer as such, as defined. And the reason, please, anybody online, please be muted. The reason that we haven't is basically because all our employees are paid more than what has been defined as a fair wage. We have not extended it to contractors or others, although we do have certain expectations of fairness. Councillor Au.
Yes, Your Worship. Once again, thank you for coming. And I've spoken to some of your members in the past, so I have some information about the situation, right? How the former workers are being replaced by other people. Now, I know that the federal government has terminated the agreement. And does it change anything?
No, it was very strange, if I may. It was very strange. I thought that the government and the hotel would take the union as well into the contract agreements to let everyone be up to date on what's happening. In fact, our recall rights were ending in the May of 2021. And we couldn't have a voice to say, can you please just stop time in this pandemic? We don't mind that the hotel was quarantined. We don't mind Red Cross was there. It was for the greater good. But what we had hoped to happen was time stand still. You can't use the loophole in the union contract to say that once you have been laid off for a year, you can be terminated. That's how he managed through this loophole. Everybody else in the world and so many other businesses just picked up where they had left off. For him, it was an opportunity to, again, gain a profit on the pandemic.
All right.
Well, I mean, I was kind of surprised that that doesn't change anything, because in the beginning, I think the hotel was using the agreement as an excuse, saying that, the hiring of Red Cross people or other people were part of the agreement with the federal government. So with that agreement being cancelled and things haven't changed, I'm kind of surprised. Now, will you say that right now the negotiation is completely not happening?
Not happening. He said that the next time we come to the table, we better not be talking about the recall rights. Okay. So we have not come back to the table due to that.
What else is there to talk about? I mean, really?
I would like to know myself.
You don't have jobs.
We just want our jobs back.
Okay.
And if my memory is correct, I think the management has never spoken to the public about, anything, right? So we don't have a clue what they are thinking or what they are doing.
It's always no comment.
Yeah. I think we should.
That's why we're asking for you. I really hope that you can empathize with us, right, and just to even get the ball rolling on a resolution. I mean, we weren't even at the point where we were talking about higher wages. We're not trying to profit from this pandemic at all. We were just wanting to be recalled back to work. I didn't think that was too much to ask.
Okay.
Well, I think normally, the city won't be involved in any labor dispute, right? But in this particular case, I think there's so many questions that we have to ask. So I certainly, support that we have to step in and see, what we can do.
Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship. Well, first of all, thank you for being here, and thank you for some other people's time prior to this meeting and having private discussions, and thank you for being here. This is a very serious matter, and while it might not strictly be in the city's purview in every strict legal sense, I think it certainly is in a moral and practical sense and a supportive sense. So, like your sincerity and the seriousness of the issue comes through loud and clear, and you should know that. And that hotel, with different owners and different names, has a long history in Richmond. First pub I ever went to, but legally. And it is a part of the community, and it has to recognize, even though it has new owners, that it has a responsibility to be a good corporate community member, as all businesses do and should strive to be. So, and I do have a question, actually, but I did just want to acknowledge that it is serious. And I think the recall issue, as I understand it, in my opinion, is one that I would have liked personally to have seen suspended during COVID, because I don't think it was ever part of the collective agreement in a way that anticipated a pandemic. So that would be a reasonable interpretation. The question I just wanted to remind myself of, though, was how long has the labor issue been going on? How long were you in negotiations, and how long exactly has it been since you've been at the table?
We haven't been over at the table for about a year, correct?
So the current dispute began in May of 2021. We have not been at the table at all in that period because of the federal government being
Right.
in the hotel.
Sure. And, okay. Thank you. I think I have a good idea of what the situation is, and I really look forward to staff coming back to us with some analysis, and hopefully some really productive recommendations for what we can do as a city. But thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor Liu.
Thank you. Thanks for coming forward. And actually, I was in Local 40 many years ago, and I probably might have even worked with some people at that hotel. I used to work at the sister hotel by the freeway. And certainly I would never cross a picket line, and I would never compel anyone else to, and I don't think any of us would, and I'm sure our city staff wouldn't, considering we have union workers. We would never actually hold an event at a place that was undergoing contract negotiation or disputes. I think that goes without saying. So whether we have a policy on it or not, I think it goes without saying that we wouldn't do that. So I'd like to say that, yes, we'll do what we can, and I'm sorry you're going through this. And I think the irony of the situation is even if he does manage to unravel the whole thing, it'll just unionize in 2 years down the road anyway. Like he'll just be right back where he started. So it doesn't, it's a temporary reprieve, possibly, but not even. It's, it's not, I don't think it's worth it. So anyway, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. Have a referral to refer to staff to investigate delegations, request, and report back. Excuse me.
Can we make it requests plural?
Requests, yes.
Yeah, because
Requests.
there's two
Yes,
sides of it.
that's correct. Thank
So
you.
that's moved and seconded. Okay, on the referral, did you want to say anything more about that?
No, thank you.
All right, Councillor Day.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly support the referral to see what else we can do, but I think the least we can do today is to amend that ever so slightly, that the City of Richmond will inform all staff and contractors and other affected persons it will not reimburse expenses incurred on business, the city business at the Pacific Gateway Hotel during the
We're on
winters.
referral.
Yeah, I would like to amend it to allow.
But no, that is part of a direct motion. This is on referral, okay?
Then I'll make a separate motion after this then. Thank you.
Councillor Au.
So I would like to support the referral motion, but I want two information specifically. Number one, I want to know how much money did we spend in the last 3 years before the pandemic with this hotel?
Okay, well.
Okay, and secondly, I want also to know how much money did we receive or sponsorship that we receive from this hotel for our events and things like that in the last 3 years before the pandemic. Okay.
Okay, we can add those specifics.
Yep.
But those are just examples of the specifics. There's more stuff as well. I have to venture a guess that the answer will be that we've spent probably nothing, if anything.
Okay.
But we'll see. Okay, I'm going to call the question then on, Councillor McNulty, on the referral.
I am going to support the referral, Your Worship, and I don't want to see anything detract from the delegation's intent. I think it's extremely important that we support the referral, and staff tell us what we can do, and staff tell us whether we support our unions. And we're not just talking about, with due respect to you folks at number 40, we also have 3 unions in Richmond, okay? And to me, what we can do with our role and what the city is capable of doing. Now, Burnaby did what they had to do, Your Worship, at the time, and not, with due respect to Mike Hurley and Burnaby, I know them all, and everybody else does, they did a good job. So I think we need to go further. I made a comment earlier for comment and direction so that we come back with something concrete and not say, well, okay, we're going to say what I've heard, that I'm assuming, given this direction, that nobody that is an employee of Richmond would cross the picket line over there. So that's what I'm assuming. Maybe I'm making a wrong assumption, but I won't. And on it, so I think we asked how we can do it. The other thing, through your worship, in the referral, we asked staff to mention the fact that the city is concerned morally, ethically, and otherwise with the group here, that negotiations should continue with these folks. These are people within our community, and I think that's important. So that's why I was looking for direction back, not just, saying, okay, let's pass this. Okay, we're in the Vancouver Sun again, I've got an article. We need some action, some concrete action on it. So hoping that that's in the referral.
Okay.
And I hope nobody else detracts from it tonight.
All right, staff has heard your suggestion, which I think is perfectly reasonable myself, is to not just analyze the situation, but tell us what the options are and make recommendations.
Yes.
And hopefully, given the patience of these good folks, let's get that back in,
Can we have it in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, well, hopefully a month at the latest that we would get that back.
Okay.
So I'm going to call the question then on the referral. All those in favor? Anybody opposed to that? Nobody is opposed, but is Councillor Steves part of the meeting still? Is he still there?
He just shut his picture off.
I see his picture is off. I just haven't heard from him. Okay, so anyway, that is carried on referral. Councillor Day.
Make an additional motion that we, City of Richmond, not support business with the hotel until an agreement is made with the union while we're waiting these 2 to 4 weeks. We did this, if you recall, with the Port of Vancouver many years ago. They're not allowed to host an event in Richmond. It's not the first time we've done it, so I'd like to make that additional motion as well.
Councillor Day, we referred that whole matter to staff to get their analysis and their recommendations on what we can and should do. I really think that encompasses the whole question.
Yeah, it does.
It's referred out.
You're messing it up.
So, thank you. That does it, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you for listening to us
Thank
tonight.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so,
with you.
yes. Mike Ingle has disappeared, but now he's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
So, sir.
I want to thank everybody for taking the time.
Hold it. So, sir, if you could introduce yourself, and you've got 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Ingle, and I'm a resident in Markle, Vancouver. I frequent Richmond quite a bit, between going to hobbies and activities with my kids and family members in Richmond, and so I care about Richmond very much. And I'm here today basically to share some thoughts about what I'm hearing quite a bit from back east in regards to reintroducing the mask mandate and so on and so forth. And I've added a link onto the chat. I'm not going to go through the whole presentation, as there is over 2 years worth of stuff, over 80 pages that I've compiled. But what I did want to share the screen for you for one moment, if I may, is basically something like this. And where is it? And here it is. Sorry. So this is a box of masks, the blue masks that we see everywhere, Costco and Superstore and so on. This is the most kind of, I guess, generic type of a mask there is. And on the mask, it says right there, it says, will not provide any protection against COVID-19 or other viruses or contaminants. And so with that in mind, I know that it's a very controversial subject and topic, but right there for everybody to see that they themselves do not guarantee or offer any protection whatsoever. And so for the sake of our children and ourselves, I would request that if, we see it from, various doctors or authorities, they talk about, the masking and how important it is to protect somebody else rather than yourself. it's actually doing neither. It's not protecting anybody else, nor is it protecting yourself. And so I cordially request that, I know that you recently removed the vaccination and the mask mandate as it's done on a provincial authority, but I would request that the city of Richmond actually take a look at its own kind of mandate and restrictions that they made to do with COVID-19 and get rid of those mandates as well, because here's just one simple example of showing that the mask is, basically does nothing for protection. And that's all I wanted to share with you folks today.
All right, thank you very much, sir. May I have a motion to rise and report?
Move we rise and report.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried.
Move adjournment.
Brings us to the end. We're now adjourned. Thank you. And